Okay, so skins, TLDW, easy. As a designer, you can create. Now, who knows what's going to happen until release? I've got the nightmare situation, the scary version, and I've got the happy, happy, joy, joy version, which I'm going to tell you now. You can create a skin. It's going to cost you Plex, non-negotiable, to build, depending on probably the size of it. It doesn't shrink very much. The highest tier skins aren't that much more expensive. They're still expensive than the cheapish kind of skins for whatever you're building, right? At a battleship level, you're looking between probably 100 and 130, right? The typical price on their on the NES, right? Think about that. So that's the typical price you're going to have to pay just to make the design. So basically, think of it like you're purchasing a skin license from EVE Online, activating it, but instead of it going into your actual character, it's activating into a collection, which is where you, on the Paragon Hub, I guess, the only interface to do so, and you can sell copies apparently of this design. Basically, you're printing licenses and choosing the time, just like you would putting up a sell order, like a day, a week. I forget. I don't do a lot. 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I think the maximum is 4 weeks, right? I don't know how long they give you here, but I'm assuming it's the same. Is the hub listing cost? Can you reduce it? Can you reduce both of these via skills? Right? I'm not sure. All of this, is any of this influenced by any skills whatsoever? Right? Interesting to see if they list the skills. They'll probably release the skills early for us. But yeah, as you can see, you can activate for yourself. Does it cost a fee to activate for yourself? Right? Because you already have to freaking activate them to get them into the collection in the first place. I'm just assuming this means you haven't activated it for yourself. And if you buy skins, they will go in here. Can you then resell them? Right? I mean, can you, if you get a copy
on it in the upcoming releases and expansions, we already have plans to add a share design functionality, more features tailored towards groups and corporations, as well as adding a ton new design elements and even new categories.
I wonder what categories means
For them. I think one of the things that players...
Alright, so let's try to sum up what I've learned. I'll try to gloss over anything that we have questions about. Like, is this a toggle for transparency or opaqueness? Like, how many overlays will this global pattern appear over when you click these boxes? Is this relating to opaqueness? And if you uncheck them, will the pattern just not show up at all, right? That's what we're assuming. There are 12 patterns. This is the diamond one. The pattern slot is when you click on this. The pattern material slot is when you click on this. This is the primary slot. This is the text slot. Overlays, basically. So I don't know what they call this. I don't know what they call that. Sure, in game we'll find out. But basically, lines, flanges, and this is the the main color portions. I'm assuming that if you choose the lines, you can recolor the oracle yellow lines something else, right? I'm assuming. The global pattern is what you can pattern completely. When you choose this pattern, you only get one choice for the entire, there's no overlay patterns, there's just colors. But you need to get a color for the pattern, for the global pattern. Just consider it the global overlay. This is the global overlay right here. These are the overlay colors you can choose, right? So if you uncheck all of these, your pattern won't be visible, I'm assuming. Anyways, so you can scale the pattern, but you can only scale the color. So you'll just splash this entire thing with a bucket of red, right? If you scale, because you won't be able to scale the pattern. I'm pretty sure you won't be able to do it in the future. I'm assuming, just because I'm a bitter vet and think these guys will just move on to the next sexy thing, right? The next patch, and forget all about their promises. Because they haven't really given as much, have they, in the way of verbiage. So this is triangles. You can get, there's 12 of them. And the number here, I'm not really sure. I thought it was tier, because if you check out the prices of the value here, point value something, it tracks closely with the number here, but I have no idea if that's correct or not. Right? It could be saved progress along the creation thing, or some other number completely, right? Camera will, yeah, you can screw around with the camera, which is basically orbital. And when you click this, it'll switch to orbital. So needless bunch of crap. Basically, it's taken all the shit and thrown it at the wall. Here you go. This is what all we've got. And I'm sure they'll trim it down for the release, or maybe not. Who knows? There's that. Down here we have one linkage here, one linkage here, and one linkage here. And what you get is a gold pattern based on this. You don't get a choice. You don't get, I'm going to choose color for the black and a color, maybe the gold is for this. Maybe the gold color is for the black and the white is just, you know, transparency. I'm assuming that this is just simply either a null, something we as players never see, and what developers see as the skeleton polygon without colors added, or they've got all four of them as white and it's completely white, but I'm not sure if that's possible. I think they're just teasing us and being douchebags about it. But these connections, it makes it look simple, but it really isn't, because you go down here and all of a sudden you've got like connections here and connections here, but right? And how does it translate over here? I believe the toggles for the pattern were such that it would only appear for the main color, not splotching onto the rest of the ship. I'm not sure. I'm just guessing. I have no idea what the 9 things. I thought 9 meant fermionics is the sequencer binder required for the material color, but that's, I was just guessing, right? Because you've got a color here for the pattern, you've got a color here for the primary, you've got a color here for the tech slot, something for the line slot, and something for the I don't know what slot. So why they have different costs, right? it just is confusing because this was originally in the other image you saw was connected to KIR. So why is this connected to all of a sudden this one and these three here? The complexities are just starting to compound themselves into idiocy. Here's the nanocoatings, the metallics, then the patterns. They're only showing you a limited amount of them. There are 12 of them. I don't think there's, I think you just scroll down and not across. But yeah, that's a very limited amount. And this is in the Paragon hub that you can purchase, not in your collection. So I'm assuming all this is for sale. But and by the way, see that icon right there? I'm not sure whether that's an emblem of your corporation or something else, but I didn't see any hint of, right? Is that a pattern? Because if you see, is that a pattern scaled down? But no. When you look up here, I think I've already talked about it, but yeah, I mean, you will get, like when you scale that pattern, you'll just get the color splash. So I don't think you can shrink the, see, that pattern is exactly the same. It's just the color got splashed more. Likely because it's hard to describe, because you think, oh, when you have a pattern, you can choose, right? It's just, this is the pattern, the color of the pattern itself. But since it's not solid pattern, it's got gaps in it. That's where this stuff shines through. So this is just the wingy things. This is the wingy stuff. This is the depressed things. Like, I'm assuming here and here and here. This is all this here. This is that dark purple. This is the edge bits, like this stuff. I don't know. It's hard to describe. I've got an. That's supposed to be the, wait, what? Light, what? Light blue is supposed to be the lines. I don't see any lines. But that's supposed to be the wingy bits. So that's supposed to be the wingy, right? So this is supposed to be the wingy bits. And in between the purple should be the wingy bit color. Why is it yellowish? Yeah, it's just, this is not translating well into color. Very well, I'll bet. Otherwise, they've reversed it. They've decided, oh, this doesn't mean what we want it to mean, and they've just screwed around with it, and we're just looking at different iterations of their design process, right? But it's like, it's not helpful. Yeah, I mean, this stuff is here, like right here. He was changing all the colors. So all this depressed stuff, that's the bottom color, the text slot. The yellow, the blue are the lines, right? But it could be, this could be an earlier iteration. The yellow would be the lines. I can't really see where the lines would be on this thing. I would have no idea. Right? But the wingy bits seem to be blue, or this color, and then the lines are light blue, right? And then the black is, you know, I don't know what you would call that. I'm sure airplane engineers might be able to describe what that looks like. Those parts are called, but it's basically, yeah, right. So yeah, it's just. But I wish it was simple. I wish they they talked about it more, and hopefully in that morning. But it's going to be a rush, isn't it? They're going to be like yapping how wonderful they are and how wonderful this is and blah blah blah, how the opportunities, and they're not actually going to lead us through the process and click on the things and go, this is that, this is. They're not going to do documentation. They're just going to be doing marketing shit, and they're not going to be paying attention. They're just going to be clicking randomly and showing random videos that aren't showing the individual bits and explaining it in a human way, because that blog is just horrendous, right? That a blog is supposed to be, these are the different bits of it, this is how it works. No, it's just a big marketing blog. They have just, wish I was able to describe each slot, or say each of the 4 overlays or 4 nano coatings, and then be able to describe the pattern in a coherent way that explains what the hell these check marks are. One assumes opacity. And could you make a skin that's the cheapest possible with only this overlay? Like, just make a cheap version of this that's not this stupidly expensive, but have it just like a red color and a simple pattern, right? Let's get you showing the, again, because you might have missed it, the 12 patterns they had there. So we have 12. And whether or not they have more is doubtful, because they've been showing us God mode so far, so there would be no reason to not show us as many as they could. So you've got 12, and these are all the patterns right here. So interesting patterns. And look, that's the pattern that we saw on that ship. So you might be actually able to scale the pattern, or maybe that's when you choose this pattern, it's just a fixed size, and you might be able to offset it. But you saw when he did the scale for that, it just scaled the color. So, right? So it's very difficult to, right? It's like, is this, I mean, these are the questions I want to ask in that session. Is like, is that eye looking like is the hexagon pattern slot? Is the pattern slot is the hexagon pattern slot? Is that a fixed size, or can you enlarge it on the ship, like Elite? Like Aliens Elite Fireteam, right? When you can really do some crazy stuff with the patterns. Can you do that? You know, when you did that and it just did the color and didn't enlarge the pattern, is that just an early version of this and you're planning on, right? Because how did you get that hexagon? Is the scaling only catching for one of your patterns? Or did you just arbitrarily God moded that thing that way for us, and we can't actually do it? You were just teasing with something we can't actually do, right? Questions like that. So, yeah, hopefully that helped. The actual production of it, you can make a quantity of skins. But since we've looked on the Paragon Hub, and you've been able to sell copies of this design, you can sell licenses of this design, which is proper denotation for the concept of license, right, and design, which is great. But why the option for amounts here? Like, why are you making, right? Why are you making more? If you're making design, you can sell copies of. Why the need for amount? That's another question, right? Yeah. what's this number? Why is this here? Why is it 30%? Are the skills going to lower the fee and the service cost? You're making it look a lot like it is very much microtransacting and Amazon all together, which is insane, but whatever. Right? But yeah, and that's cool. Artists will be able to figure out which of the designs is selling well. Based on that, they're great. They'll be happy, and they can design stuff similar to that probably, and not have it disappear into the ether and go, okay, something sold, but what was it? It's a design. They'll never lose that. That's great. That's wonderful. Because you can't put it in your items bay to contract it out. It's always going to be stuck here. So you can't contract it out. You're stuck with the Amazon interface. Mentally deranged. But all right, fair enough. This is simply a fee, and now that you've made it, you'll always have it, and so this is free to make copies. So this is a cost for listing and another cost. So you got two costs for listing it, right? So hooray. You're now printing ISK, which you've already paid the Plex price for it. So it's like you've paid CCP money because somebody had to buy that Plex from the website with cold hard cash. And now you're allowed to do ISK or Plex to transact. I'm sure everybody will do ISK or not, whatever. I don't know it. But at least you've got the option to print ISK. And as soon as it starts selling, great. Well, wonderful. You can make a lot of ISK. And congratulations. I hope you do well. And yeah, I mean, the article, this news thing is very much tuned to selling to investors and the wonderful designs that artists can do and that they can profit off it by selling licenses. It sounds very sexy to the investors, but underneath there's a 30% take. And at the end, when he says, I'm going to make a lot of money, he's not meaning he's playing it himself and selling. No, CCP is going to make a shit ton of money that they're hoping, like, and this stuff is big. I mean, this is fun shit that kids these days really love. Their own personal skin, and oh my god, it'll take off, and it's all Plex for them. You make that one design, yeah, and people start selling it for Plex because that'll be the default. That's generating, realizing virtual money into real, which look great for investors, and they can sell that to investors, and it could take off in a big way to help boost the numbers of people who are retained in Eve and play Eve. So yay, wonderful. So I'm all for that. It's just, it's not as slimy as I first thought, thank God. When I saw that number, I was like, oh my god, you're not going to be making designs and licensing those designs. You're just grinding product. But that's not as, I'm sure they thought about this. Like, I'm sure it was not a copy. You were selling it and it was going to disappear from the Paragon Hub, guarantee you, because that just screams not a design, not license, you know. So thank God they either read the room and realized they were going to have another rider on their hands, right? Can you imagine? Jesus. The cost for this is just exorbitant. Like, not only do you pay Plex, but you've got to play the grind game of getting this ingredients, which at first is going to be obscene. So, yeah. Anyways, that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Have yourself a good one.